I'll let John go first. This is John Wathen for y'all that have not met him. He is the new maintenance director. Is taking care of the daily maintenance. So,
yeah, exactly. So I'm pleased to be here. Thank you very much. Trying to help Shannon and Matt, trying to divide and conquer. He has a mountain of responsibilities and work, so trying to take the day-to-day load off of him, the work order system especially, and the maintenance crew. So we can try to keep our facilities running smoothly while Shannon focuses on those large projects. And with the ESSER funds and all the influx of capital we've had, he's got a lot of projects he needs to focus on. So my goal is to really try to narrow down the work order system and get our guys efficient and try to keep things moving out there in the day-to-day things. So keeping our sewers, electrical, roofing systems, all of that working properly. We're making good progress on the work order system. So I took over, we had about 800 open work orders. We've got that down to 246 right now today. A lot of that, they've been in the system for a little while. Some of them needed a little bit of work done to finish them off. Others were, sometimes you get interesting requests from folks. And so it's having a conversation. Lots of times, those folks that put those requests in are no longer at the school. So having to re-engage the school site, talk about their issues. So some of those just went away. So it's been real good to kind of clean up the work order system, try to make it work better for us. The total work orders we've completed so far this year is 1,365. So to give you an idea, it's quite a bit. So some of those, like I said, were legacy work orders been in the system for a while. Our current average time to complete a work order is about 9 days. And that's both for the maintenance, which is the day-to-day repair of the facilities, as well as we order our supplies through that, the custodial supplies. So it skews the number a little bit. Sometimes the supply works might take a week or two before we get product in. So if I was to look at the actual maintenance work orders, how long it takes us to fix the toilet, fix the HVAC system, we're probably closer to about 4 days to respond to it. Wonderful. And as far as workload, in 2021-22 school year, we had 2,500 work orders total for the year. 2022-23, we had 2,760 work orders for the year. So far this year, we're already up to 1,500. So we're on target to get about 3,000 work orders for the year. So you can see it's quite a load for our staff. Roof leaks, probably one of the most challenging problems we have. Almost every school has roofing issues. And so we have 49 roof leaks reported just since August, since I got here 4 months ago. So we try to respond to those very quickly, try to get the water under control. We rely heavily on Morristown Roofing to help us. They come out, they get up on our rooftops and try to do patching as best they can. So we have a good relationship with them, and we like where that's going at this point. Some of our highlights for this year, some of the wonderful things we've accomplished. Bull Gaps Elementary School, we had a child who needed ADA access to the playground, so we're able to put that ramp in for them, so the child can now enjoy the playground out there in the kindergarten. St. Clair Elementary got a grant for a new playground, so we were able to do the installation for them, purchase the border and all the infill material, install all the equipment, and I think she's going to have a dedication for that.
She did.
It was already?
Press, last weekend.
It was, okay. So that's already in place. Kids are loving that. That was one of the things we accomplished this year. Heating and ventilation is, again, a big challenge. So we've had a lot of our systems are aged. Some of them are beyond their life expectancy. So we have two gentlemen who work very hard to try to stay on top of this. We had some replacements we had to do at Churchill Elementary, McFeeder's Bend, Bulls Gap, even Central Office, we had some outdated units that needed to be replaced. So we have replaced all those within the last few months. We've got to comply with the SAVE Act. We're installing vestibules, security vestibules in front of the campuses. So we're doing as much work in-house as possible, so we don't have to contract that out and save us a lot of money there. So we've already completed Carter's Valley Elementary, Churchill Elementary, JRP is near finished right now. Rogersville Elementary is done, and next will be Churchill Intermediate School. We'll be getting on that soon. So we like where that's going. We have some very talented staff that are able to do all that work and save us a bunch of money for contracting that out. Because the roofs, when they leak, they also stain our ceiling tiles. It looks a little nasty, so one of the things, one of my pet projects going around, stain ceiling tiles and getting work orders and getting our staff out there to replace those. So it looks a lot nicer when you walk into campus. That doesn't look like a big stain on the ceiling. Some of our big challenges, some of our needs that we have moving forward. Over at Volunteer, the Freshman Academy, the HVAC unit above the workroom is dead. It's not working, so it needs to be replaced. So we have an estimate of about $19,000 that we need to install that. And that's self-installed. That means we're getting a crane, we're putting it on the roof and installing that. We're not contracting that out.
That wasn't part of the duct work, that was just duct work.
Yeah, well, no. Now, the HVAC project that was done, which I'll talk about that here in a minute, did not include Freshman Academy.
Okay.
Because the Freshman Academy was at
Don't-
that
don't-
time newer.
Keep going,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. And then over at Joseph Rogers, the dining room over there, we have a water source heat pump that is out of commission. We have an estimate that's a little aged at this point, about $35,000. We reached out to Train to try to get an updated estimate on the replacement of that unit. So as soon as I get that, we'll put a new number on that and then figure out how we're going to budget that replacement, because we will need to get that replaced as well. Churchill Intermediate School in the dining room. There's also a rooftop unit there that's dead. We've got 2 units on that rooftop. We've had it programmed to one to run 24/7 just to keep folks warm in there. And it's maintaining a comfortable temperature now, so we're doing good. But again, we're working that one extra hard while we figure out how we're going to budget for this replacement as well. And let's see, moving on to a little bit of plumbing. So we're going to a middle school out in the front. So we're going to a middle school. We've had a leak there for quite some time. There's a pressure regulation station out in front. And it's even carved a little trench. You'll notice if you drive by, there's a little trench out there. The light's been leaking. And we had no way of shutting the water off the campus if there was ever a bad issue. So we did get an estimate from Ed Moody. Came out and looked at it. But his estimate's $43,700, big chunk of money. So working with Shannon again, he may talk more about that, on how we're going to budget that and how we're going to make that happen as well. RMS in the library, we've had roof leaks there, ongoing. I think we've had 3 since I've been here 4 months. The last time Morristown Roofing came up, he went on the roof and said we will no longer come on this roof and service it, it's beyond repair. So that one kind of got raised at the top of the list, so we're going to have to do something with that fairly soon. We don't have any estimates yet on that replacement. And over at Mooresburg Elementary, we have our water testing that we do for TDEC. Our gentleman, Darren Gillum, goes down there and does his testing all the time. Well, he's been doing it on his tailgate quite some time. Well, TDEC has some new inspector out there, and they're enforcing their standards, which requires it to be in a climate-controlled environment, which we don't have down there. So we're converting a storage building, an outbuilding out there. We're going to put a roof on it, climate control, turn water in, so that we can comply with TDEC's requirements.
Just so
Can't make that up.
No.
my fellow board members understand, that's for the sewer treatment plant.
That is the treatment.
That is a trick.
So when he takes a sample, he's got to be able to take that into climate control, run the test, record the results. And right now, he's been doing it out in the open, which no longer
Because-
complies.
It's out in the open.
Well,
Which is what it is, right?
it's dissolved oxygen and ammonia is what he's testing for.
So
Does
what's
it,
that require?
does it need to be in a climate control? Well,
Get in the car.
T-Deck says it does. That's all I can tell you. So,
Get in the car.
Go from the tailgate to the front
There
seat.
you are.
so that, tailgate, yeah.
And,
I'm a van.
Fortunately, that is really not even too high on my radar because the dollar amounts, again, we have some very talented people on our maintenance department. I'm very fortunate to have jumped into this position. Shannon has a great crew here. So we're actually able to do most of the work in-house. So I'm looking at probably $4,000 tops to go ahead and pull plumbing in there, get the roof fixed up, and get the HVAC
Yeah,
system.
the building is already there. It's a
Building's
storage building.
I just
It's
got
been there forever.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just
You do air
converting it.
conditioning.
Yeah.
We'll put them in split.
Little
Yeah.
Louis split.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I just thought it was.
Yeah, exactly. Can't make this stuff up. And then probably finish off with just another roofing
Who's this first of all?
challenge roofing.
So who is that? What school you talking about?
This one right now for the roofing, I haven't sent the schools yet.
Oh,
For Cherokee and volunteer high schools.
okay.
Yes. So those have nuisance leaks throughout the campuses. And so those, I know those roofing systems have to be past their life expectancy. I think Shannon's saying, what, 25 years, 20?
The best of my knowledge, those were put on in 98, 99. Typically single ply, ballasted, EPDM. That's just rubber. That's like an inner tube. And it has rock on top of it that holds it down. It's the cheapest roof on the market. That's what we put down. Typically, 10 to 15 years, you need to be looking at replacement. Ours were put on 24 years ago. So
Good energy.
Yeah.
we do have quite a bit of.
And typically, and that's just your normal institutional type buildings, is your roof systems have a certain age replacement. So you usually want to have a budgetary system in place so that you have a life cycle. So you know in 10 years, we've got to start making sure we're going to get that roof replaced. Very similar with the HVAC systems. They have a life cycle. You just want to make sure you're looking ahead and budgeting sufficient funds so you're replacing them prior to them being an emergency.
Is that already figured in there?
We struggle with that. I mean, that's something we struggle with annually because we don't have the funds. Like, ideally, we would be replacing, so if I know roofing's going to last 15 years, I would take 1/15 of the district and I would roof that this year. Next, I'd do the same. Next, I'd do the same. So when I get to the end, I can start right back over. Same thing with on HVAC. We know an HVAC system's going to last 15 to 20 years. I would do the same thing. I'd take a 20th of the district and I would start replacing. We can't do that on the budget we have. It's just not, fiscally, we can't do it.
We were asked yesterday from TOS to come up with 3 priorities that are not being paid for through now TISA, and also that were not paid for through BEP. So I listed 3 items. The first item I listed was facilities. This is the first school system I've worked for where the state doesn't allow for some sort of facility monies coming to the LEA to account for older buildings, aging facilities, just to be able to handle the deferred maintenance. So what I specified to that survey was an additional $1.5 million a year earmarked for facilities, and then they wanted to know what expenses we would be on our own right now with our aging facilities, and I estimated close to $10 million for the 2 roofs of the high schools to be replaced. So if the state steps up and helps us out, because what's happening is the state's safety money is covering some of these safety entrance vestibules, window film. When we replace a window, they have to have safety glass or film applied to them. So that's added to the cost at Hawkins Elementary. When we replace all the HVAC units, we replace the windows. When you replace the windows, they have to be up to safety code. So although they're giving us money for safety, we're having to pull a lot of capital outlay money in order to subsidize what we have to get done over the next several years for safety purposes. That's taking all of our money that we had set aside for deferred maintenance, some of these things that John and Shannon are talking about tonight, and wiping it out. Doors are another example. Fire marshal comes in and says these interior doors have to be replaced. You guys know that resulted in about 1.2 extra million dollars being spent between the end of last year and first part of this year for entrance interior doors that we hadn't planned on at the high schools. So plus another 800 plus thousand for finishing the exterior doors at 2 high schools because of the increased cost of inflation. So you add all that up, it doesn't leave anything left for these 2 gentlemen to meet the needs of the system. So we're quickly falling behind on some of the high dollar stuff. The last thing I want to do is go to the commission and say, we've got big dollar items, it's time for another bond. In a perfect world, we would do exactly what John and Shannon have laid out, and that is tackle some of these things as these HVAC units, the roofing units, the asphalt, some of the larger things expire. We're there and we're able to hit it before we get too far down the road and then have to do 4 times as much because we didn't replace it when it wore out. That's where we're at. And I'm not being negative. We own old buildings. The county does too. We're in the same spot that the county government's in as well, with the sheriff's department, the jail facility, the county courts, you name it. So I did my job and I got the survey back. I was probably the first one to turn it in today. So
Very good.
we didn't have to think hard on it. I had Melissa double check my numbers and we sent it in. So.
And our biggest problem, like he's saying, is we do have older buildings, and the deferred maintenance has been deferred and deferred and deferred until now. We can no longer defer some of these things. Volunteer and Cherokee need a roof. I mean, they need a roof bad.
I think, and those are,
That's not a small project.
no, it
Yeah.
is not. And you are correct, you know. I like where you guys are going with this. You know, plan for the future. Put everything on rotation. I believe in that. We do our school buses that way. And we don't have to borrow any money.
Yeah.
We know it's coming. Public education, public school buildings aren't going away. So we have to plan for the future.
No, and you know, if you go to some of our buildings, especially, I mean, you go to well, let's take Mount Carmel, since it's the oldest one in the district. It was built in 1947. If you go to these schools, our schools still look good. I mean, we take care of our buildings. We've got a lot of use out of buildings. I can't tell you how many sets of feet have walked in and out those doors. It's a bunch since 1947. And we do a lot, even our teachers, even our educational staff, our custodians, everybody. We do a lot with a little in Hawkins County. We don't have a lot, but we do a lot with it. And that's what, we just need some help getting over these humps, because now we're to the point where what we have deferred, we're going to have to do something with it.
You guys good?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, he's good. That was his part. Now I just wanted to hit some highlights on what we've done, because some of y'all, I don't know if you know what we've done totally with our ESSER funds, what projects we've done, and what we've spent money on. But I do want you to know, district wide, we upgraded all the lighting to LED, which is saving us a tremendous amount on power consumption.
Estimates of upwards of 300,000 a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
So now, of course, that our goal is to keep the budget flat.
Right.
Okay. Because you know as well as I do, the price of electricity, the price of gas, everything's going up. So the only thing that we can do to offset that is find savings. LED, great way to do that. Great big savings, brings that price down, but it inches back up because the price per unit increases. But right now we're sitting pretty budget neutral on that. We installed bipolar ionization district-wide. Every single rooftop unit, every single barred unit has bipolar ionization, which it ionizes the air, which makes the particles larger so that the filters catch those particles. It benefits the environment in the classroom, and that's why we did that. It was a health benefit for clean air. Of course, Cherokee and Volunteer, we replaced every single HVAC unit, rooftop, classroom units, everything. We fixed the old ductwork that was in there. All that's new metal ductwork now. Volunteer and Cherokee, we replaced the switchgear that was installed in 1978 that was outside. We still had the same electrical switchgear from 1978. We replaced those with ESSER funds and EESI funds.
Except for vocational, just to clarify.
Yeah, vocational. The main switchgear is what we replaced outside. Mount Carmel's cooling tower was replaced with this, and the automation system for the HVAC at Mount Carmel was replaced through ESSER. All those are completed projects, and Melissa can probably tell you a dollar amount on those more than I can without looking, but it's a lot. It's a lot. Now, the projects that we're working on, Volunteer and Cherokee had kitchen hoods that had been there, the ventilation hoods for the kitchen that had been there since 1979 when the building was built. Still same kitchen hoods. Parts had become non-existent for those. We replaced those and the ones in culinary in the CTE building at both schools with new hoods. We just finished that up. The makeup air, which if you're familiar with a kitchen hood, you're ventilating all the time. So you have to bring in air from outside to replace the air that you're ventilating. Okay. These units now, they temper the air before it comes in, so they'll heat that air so it's not ice cold air coming in, which puts less work on our heat pumps, which he enjoys. Because that way he don't have to work on them as much if they don't run 24/7.
Yeah, they don't call me freezing in the kitchen anymore.
Yeah.
Before he leaves the ESSER list, just remember, and this has come up in the community several times, where you're talking about roofs, why didn't you use ESSER funds for roofing? We had to attach ESSER funds to health benefits. Anything dealing with the air, anything dealing with health benefits of staff and students. So we were able to tackle that HVAC project at both high schools to the tune of over $14.5 million when we first bid it out, and get that taken care of with these one-time funds. The only thing we're out is the EESI portion of that we had put up front when we were trying to get that bid and started
And it
before
was
ESSER.
4
million.
Yeah.
Almost 4.8%.
And that's a low interest loan basically. It's
Less than 1%.
It's less than 1% the interest on it, and we pay for it. That's a great thing about ESI. With the savings that we achieve with the project, we pay that, so it's budget neutral. Okay. Right now, we're currently working on the gyms, the HVAC project to put heating air in every single elementary and middle school gym. That's 10 gyms that right now do not have air. Okay. Most of those are the elementary schools and the middle schools. The contractor has all the pads poured outside the buildings for the ground-mounted units. The ductwork started going in at Mooresburg on Monday. They will slowly move their way this way, and they will install equipment when it arrives. It's all been ordered, so it will, whichever one comes in first, that's the one they'll install. Okay? The electrical conduit has already been run on every building that we're doing. It's already in place. So this will be completed by June 30th. Everybody will have air by June 30th. So next year, when we start, your middle school gyms, your elementary school gyms will all have air. And then the last one, of course, that's a ESSER funds was Hawkins Elementary, the HVAC system. If you've been in Hawkins Elementary, it's still run by a boiler. It's a hot water system with radiator heaters and forced fans. So those boilers have been there since 1964-ish. They were originally coal-fired boilers,
How
sometime
do you
in
look at me when you say 64?
Thought maybe you were there. I don't know.
He's born.
I was. But those were converted to natural gas in the 80s, late 80s. They converted them to natural gas, got rid of the coal. But they are very aged, we'll say. So the replacement there, we're having to do quite a bit of sealing work and everything. The contractor has started his submittal process of equipment, anything for the windows, the window film, all that. They'll submit that stuff to the architect. Once he looks through it, make sure it meets specifications, he'll order all that stuff. The state fire marshal's already approved the drawings. We got those back. They're approved drawings, so we're good to go on it. And that covers ESSER. Do you want me to go into this tonight, or do you want to wait?
You can at least hand it out. Yeah.
Okay. This is a project list that we've been working on. These are, the first page is what I would deem critical. We need money for these now. A couple of them have already been addressed. There's one on here. Let me hand
Yeah.
that. Just pass it down, pass it.
Jesus help me.
So this is what I would deem critical, that needs to be done quickly. The Carters Valley Elementary School fire alarm replacement, that has already been approved. That's happening now.
Emil, you got another
Okay,
time?
yes, I do.
Okay, so see what
I made 10 just in case. That is happening now. It is
Which
supposed
one
to
is it?
start, the very first one, it's
you got.
highlighted.
Okay.
It's highlighted. That will start the 18th. That starts Monday. We're waiting on the kids to get out of the building so that we can start that replacement now. The reason for the replacement is the fire alarm works fine. It's the charging circuit that charges the backup batteries has went out of this system, and we can't get parts for it anymore. It's an old simplex panel. We can't get parts for it, so we got to swap it. So that will start on Monday. If you look down to the next one, that says McFeeder's being to replace the roof. That roof blew off in a storm 2 years ago. It was the year before last. It blew off. We pulled it back over, and it is screwed down and secured, but it's not fixed. Insurance gave us right at $37,000 in insurance money. That's not even close to what it's going to take to replace it. You see, I had $275,000 on there, but we do have some insurance money that was given to that. And then Chia's down there, the HVAC unit that he said that he talked about earlier in the dining hall. I was able to talk to the insurance company, and they gave us $43,000 for that purchase of that HVAC unit. So that's already been ordered. We've got it on the way. But we are, in order to make it meet our budget, John has been so gracious as to volunteer the guys to install that in-house so that we don't go over budget. The unit itself was $38,600, somewhere around there. So that leaves us enough money in that $43,000 to get a crane, to line sets, anything that we may need.
Again, we're just fortunate the guys are really talented, and they're not afraid of some hard work, so we're lucky.
Look.
Yes, we are.
And then the last one that we actually have money toward is Churchill Middle School. The cooling tower froze during the last Christmas Eve when we had the big freeze of everything. The cooling tower actually froze. It is an older cooling tower. When we did the estimate on it, it was $330,000. I upped it to $450 because everything's going up. I'm not sure what it'll be until we get it, but insurance did put $170,000 toward that purchase of that. The next 2 pages are just projects that we need to complete. They're not critical, but they need to be done. And it goes everything from just general restroom remodels at both high schools near the gym. Roofing is on there, paving, water and sewer lines, fencing, bleachers, HVAC, there's a big list for HVAC, and then carpet for, and I just put district-wide on it because our libraries need carpet, and that's a big expense. Most of them have not been replaced since the libraries were built that I know of.
What classrooms has carpet?
Kindergartens.
You're right.
They'll have one part of the classroom that'll be carpet.
Right. I remember that.
They get nasty pretty quick.
Yeah.
When we replace those, typically we will replace them with carpet squares instead of broad loom carpet, because that way we can replace a square instead of 12 feet of carpet. And then the back is just things that have been requested. This is by no means a complete list of everything that we need to replace in the county, by no means. But it's a good start to let you know where we're at.
And keep in mind too, these dollar amounts, these are not even rough order of magnitude. These haven't been vetted through architectural firm, contractors or anything. These are our best estimates at this point, so they are rough numbers.
Yeah, they're a guesstimate.
Right.
They're not even an estimate. They're a guesstimate.
Yeah.
And these change daily. Right now we're probably, well, just here's a for instance. I mean, a HVAC unit that we could buy for $20,000 2 years ago is now $38,000. We know that for a fact. The prices have almost doubled on our materials, and it hurts. But we won't go into that in depth on this, because I know you all, we've been here an hour and a half. I know you don't want to sit through while I explain every single one of these, but I will if you want me to.
Hey, I was in a pretty good mood before I came in.
I'm sorry.
I'm going into the holidays, just saying how we're going to.
I'm taking all my kids' Christmas back.
It is overwhelming when you look at it, because I mean you're looking at right here, just on what we have listed, $29 million. I mean,
So, when I was called to testify 2 months ago regarding the potential loss of federal funds, which for the state would have been almost $2 billion, that they would have come up with out of the state to continually provide that to the districts that were losing the federal money, I made a simple statement, and this is why I made the statement. For those of us that have aging school systems with the safety enhancements that are needed and no money given to facilities, if you have $2 billion a year to cover the cost of federal funds, why not give some of that to us to help us catch up on some of our expensive projects and keep that bill off the taxpayer's plate? That's how that meeting ended. I don't know how it's going, but we received that request yesterday from TOS because they are directly negotiating with the governor on some of these things that are costing districts an arm and a leg. The belief at the state level is that TISA was the savior and it covers for all the things that the systems need. Clearly, that's not the case. We wanted to present this to you a month ago and it didn't work. We had a schedule conflict, but I wanted to paint the picture of what these two gentlemen are dealing with the very few dollars they do have, and stitching us together with duct tape and thread right now. And that's not how we want to operate. Our schools look better than most systems around us, and we have some of the oldest schools around us. I can't say enough about our custodian crew, our staff, like Shannon said as well. Teachers keep track of their own classrooms, large part. Very, very good ownership of our buildings and facilities. but we've got to do something, or that bill's going to continue to grow to the point where we can't afford, and we're really looking at big dollars if we have to build schools, replace them with newer buildings, and if you don't maintain stuff, that's the only option at some point. Here's the
We
good,
have a lot of needs.
right. The good news is the governor and his staff asked for these types of lists. A lot of school systems throughout the state are in the same boat with facilities, so I'm hopeful that there will be some sort of ongoing funding for assistance with facilities and maintenance.
If I may speak for the board, I think the board would be more than willing to publicly vote on a resolution to send to Nashville stating just what you said and being in support with more funding.
That's our biggest problem is a lot of the funds that come in are earmarked for educational purposes. So, I mean, they can use it on educational materials, we can use it on books, we can use it on programs for in the school. But the problem is nothing ever gets earmarked for facilities. Most of the grants that come out are not based on for facilities. Facilities we depend on local taxes is the way most of the facilities gets funded. Well, there's only so much of that available. And I've said it before, we can only spend $1 once. And we really need to spend it about 6 times. So we need more dollars.
I think this is something that we need to take up in the beginning of 2024, moving into the budget process, and see what we can do, and seeing if we can't lobby for some increased funding somewhere, somehow, through TOS, through TSBA, through resolutions from not only our board, but all public school boards, and invite our legislators to come in and tour our facilities.
It's greatly needed. It's greatly needed for facilities, because we do get, there are some funds that come with some of these acts and some of these mandates, but for some of them there's none. Just like the door project. If the fire marshal comes in and tells me I need to replace these doors, he doesn't write me a check. Well, that wiped our capital out last year. I mean, that was $1.14 million is what we spent on replacing doors.
And I'm glad you mentioned that.
And we still have 3 other schools we have to do. We still have Rogersville Middle, we still have Churchill Elementary, we still have Hawkins Elementary. We have been able to talk to them, and they're going to let us spread that out so that we don't have to do all of them at once, because we don't have the funds to do those all at once.
Who's good as a door if you don't have a roof?
Well, that was my point with the federal dollars conversation. And I'm very appreciative of the state giving us monies for teacher salaries, for example. But that's one group of our employees. And guess what? Every system around us gets the same. So we're still competing with those that can put in 60% of local dollars to add to that and give their teachers and the rest of their staff incrementally more. So that gap never closes. That's one discussion. Second discussion is we get safety money, but it's that same argument. We can replace doors, we can do the safety vestibules, but we're still putting local dollars in to subsidize those because those projects are very expensive with older buildings. There goes that money that could be put into a roof that holds the whole building together and makes it a safe environment.
Safety.
Putting money in one spot, windows or doors only, and not accounting for the rest of the systems, the air systems, the roof systems, doesn't do much. So, and we can only do what we can do with the money we have.
I understand the logic in that. Never putting this part coming into play.
Well,
They give us a mandate, just like the doors. They give us a mandate. There's 200,000, 375,000, another 275,000, just in doors. At 3 schools. It was a mandate from the fire marshal's office. For whatever reason, they have the right to do that. But common sense would say, okay, now we're going to make you do this or request that you do this, and if you don't do it, there's repercussions. But they don't think how we as the community, as Hawkins County, with our tax base, how can we afford to do this and maintain the other things that we're responsible for? And I'm going to end it there. I think we come back in 2024, we look at this early and see what monies we can come up with, identify. I would challenge you guys to give us your best estimates, pick out a few projects that we must take on immediately, and let us,
Front page.
like I said, a few projects
That's a few.
that we can take on immediately. And I want to thank you all for your reports. It's very eye-opening. And I'm sorry to keep everyone else so long. Does anybody else have any questions for this committee?
Yes, thank you guys.
Okay, yeah, email her about that.
Great job.
Okay.
With dimes.
Okay. With nothing else before this committee, we are adjourned.
Thank you, Eric.
All right, Kathy.
Oh.
Kathy, Matt is going to email you.